Hi guys, this is video tutorial for NeutrinoParticles editor, and in this tutorial I will continue to tell about EmitterGuide and how to create effects with EmitterGuide. In previous tutorial I told about generation section and lifetime section, and now we will continue with start position. In this section you can define where particles should be created. It has 6 different modes, and first one and default one is point mode. In this mode you can define starting particle position as a three-dimensional value, a three-dimensional vector. By default it is fixed value, so it is a single point where all particles are created. It is 0, 0, 0. You can set it to 200 by x, and you can see that starting point is changed. Next representation, next distribution of this value is random value, where you can define a random value for each component of vector. So for x, y, and z, you define limits for random values. So this value becomes a three-dimensional box with a field box with these limits, boundaries. Next distribution is random on graph, where you can control each component of this value with a graph. So random value will be applied to the x-axis from 0 to 1, and each component of starting position x, y, and z will be taken from these three graphs. You can switch graphs by clicking on these labels. And the last two distributions, over emitter time and over system time, allows you to specify starting position of particles depending on time, emitter time or system time. In this case, this is the same, these are the same. So time will be applied to x-axis, and position of particle to create will be taken from these through three graphs. The most used of these distributions are fixed value, it's a single point, and random value, which is three-dimensional box. You can also achieve some kind of animation by using over emitter time and over system time to move starting point dependently on time, but it's not a best choice. You can make that in more suitable, more convenient way. You will see that further. So second option, second mode of starting position is path. In this mode you can define a path in space in x or y plane where particles should be created. When you press Edit Path button, you can see Path Editor in preview, and you can see current path. Rules of editing and creating path is mostly the same as curves editor has. So you have control points or keys. You can move these keys, and you have segments which connect the keys. Segments can be also Bezier, linear, and also broken segment. Broken or called disrupt segment. If you create, if you set that kind of segment, then it will be ignored and particles will not be created in this part of path. To add new segments to one of two ends of this path, you need to select ending key, then hold Shift button and click to create new segments. To create a new key on the existing segment, you need to select it, then hold Shift and start to create new keys. To delete selected keys, you can click delete button on the keyboard. Also, you can change distribution of particles on the path. By default, you can see random value, random distribution from 0 to 1, where 0 corresponds to start of the path and 1 corresponds to end of the path. You can see arrows on each segment of the path, and these arrows shows you the direction of path. So this is start of the path and this is the end. So particles are randomly and uniformly distributed on this path. You can also choose fixed value, but it's not a very good idea because you have only a single point of the path. So you can set 0.5, it will be a center of this path, or you can set 1, it will be the end. It's not a best distribution, as I already said. Then you can use a random on graph distribution. It's more interesting. You can change concentration of particles in different parts of the path. Just click on random on graph button and you can change this linear distribution to something like this. I need to make this effect more dynamic, so you will see the result better. And I will stop particles, changing position set to none, so they all will stand still. So I made this distribution for the path, and you can see that particles are condensed at the center of the path. You can also make opposite graph, and particles will be condensed on two ends of this path. Also, you can use over emitter time and over system time distributions. They will allow you to make some kind of animation of point of generation point. It will slide by the path, but it's not a best way of animating effects, and you will see further that a touched emitter will do that much better. The next mode is two paths. In this mode you provide two paths and particles are generated between them. You can specify very simple paths like these two, and you can also create very complex paths. And particles will be generated in area between them. This mode has no much settings, just two paths. Next one is sphere, and all particles are created on the sphere, on the three-dimensional sphere, with specified radius. This radius can be also represented with different distributions. Fixed value, it's just a sphere, and all particles are generated on the same distance from the center, from the 0 point. You can change radius to random value. So now distance to the center is variable and random from 100 to 150. If you use random on graph distribution for sphere radius, you can change distribution of particles inside that sphere. So you can make particles condensed to the center of sphere. And you can animate sphere radius over emitter time and over system time. Next mode is circle. It mostly is the same as sphere, but it allows you to create particles on two-dimensional circle in x, o, y plane. It has radius field with the same distributions as sphere has. And the last mode is area, which allows you to specify area by drawing it with your mouse. For example, this smile. Here you can draw area, erase area, move it, and load picture for the area. Please note that this area is optimized before it gets to effect, and this checkboard shows real size of pixels in this area, and you can control that optimization with this value. If you set 5, the area will be more precise to what you drawn, but in most of cases 10 is good enough. Also, I need to mention this checkbox, apply images rotation, to show how it works. I'll create this path starting position, then open preview scene. In this window you can see all objects in your preview. Currently it's only on the current particles. So if you select it, you will see widget which allows you to move and rotate your effect. And if you will move it, well, your effect is moving too. But rotation makes no influence on the effect. But if you apply emitter's rotation, then starting position will rotate with your effect. So you can attach your effect to dynamic object in your game, and it will rotate your starting position too. This option is disabled by default, is switched off because it requires additional computations, and in most of cases it's just not necessary. So that's it for this tutorial. You saw all possible starting position options in the EmitterGuide, and next section will be changing position. So thank you, bye bye.